Many of us have gone through the various stages of grief. We're now at the acceptance stage. We accept that Bethesda are incompetent and they are unlikely to create a genuine Fallout Elder Scrolls game like we want, like the older titles that we've enjoyed. The only way we're going to get a great Fallout game is if the fans create and deliver it for us. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because Fallout London, it is a fan project that has been in the works for quite some time, and it's finally got a release date. It is coming in April of next year. Now, what Fallout London is a total conversion mod, and that is essentially a brand new game. This is a new Fallout. As you might expect, it is set in London, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it is a new Fallout. You've got the sprawling open world. We'll get into this in some detail, but the devs themselves, they say it is bigger than the world of Fallout 4. It's the size of Fallout 4 and Far Harbor, the DLC combined. You're going to have tons of dungeons to explore. There'll be settlements. There's a main quest, factions, side quests. You can pick up a whole bunch of junk, as well as occasionally finding something interesting. It's very much likely going to be that experience of playing a Fallout 3 or 4 in New Vegas for the first time, which is pretty exciting. I love to see these projects find success. All the time you hear of these teams saying, oh, we're going to create Oblivion in Skyrim, Morrowind in Skyrim, and credit to those teams for pursuing that. But it just seems like sometimes the project is endless. It feels like it's never going to actually get in our hands. This team is delivering. It's coming very soon, and a ton of work has been put into it. And one of the reasons I want to make it clear what this is when I first looked up Fallout London, when it was explained to me, I wasn't 100% sure what it was, and I think that's important, because I firstly had a little bit of an impression that it was just going to be exploring London in the Fallout 4 engine, and sure, there'd be gameplay, but I didn't realize that they were genuinely trying to make this a brand new Fallout game, with everything that you've come to expect. And we're here on their website. We'll also check out one of the gameplay trailers in a second as well. Welcome to Fallout London. This is an ambitious, trailblazing DLC-sized mod for Fallout 4, and it stands apart from its contemporaries and offers an entirely new experience, setting a Fallout game outside of the United States. It is set in London. From stuffy parliamentary astrocats to a resurrection of the Knights of the Round Table to an uncompromising cult of revolutionaries and more, Fallout London embodies the history and aesthetics of London and puts an unmistakably nuclear spin on the beloved city. So as you'd probably expect, it sounds like there'll be a huge push on that London aesthetic, but I do believe there is a huge focus on the overall game as well. That's what I was a little bit worried about. It was going to be all around visiting London landmarks and the gameplay might suffer. It might not live up to official Fallout games. I don't think that is the case. I think there's obviously a lot of passion for that London setting, but as you'll see in a second, there is heaps of effort going into all the aspects that you might expect from a Fallout game. So obviously the weapons, for instance, the dungeons, the quests, a lot of what I've mentioned so far, exploration, things like that. I also don't think it'll be complicated to get started. I think for many, while mods all sound great, not everyone playing is a technical person. Many just want to, even if they're on PC, just download the game on Steam, install it, and play. And when they're having to go on a website like Nexus Mods and stuff around with programs to get a mod into the game, sometimes it may just not seem worth it, especially if your perception of mods is that it just changes aesthetics. It just makes things look different. Again, this is genuinely a new game. It's not just putting London aesthetics inside of Fallout 4. The entire map is unique. It is built from the ground up. It's got unique assets. They're not just reskinning items that already exist in prior games. It is its own thing. I believe it may even come to Steam, where you can literally just, if you own Fallout 4 on Steam, you can just install London, and then of course you can do it the way you want if you prefer to go through a Nexus Mods or whatever you prefer. They go on to say here, Fallout London's development is labor-intensive and involves a plethora of eclectic, cross-discipline individuals, both at amateur and industry level. And I imagine many of these people are super talented. Often, as this says, industry level, they actually work in the game industry full time. They might not even be working on games that they're super passionate about, but then they come home, they apply that knowledge to something like this, a project that they are super enthusiastic about. It's always a good thing when talented devs aren't lost to the AAA, money-hungry, money-focused industry, and they do work on something that has that passion behind it like this. The team maintains a strong sense of professionalism and devotion to the craft. Everyone on the Fallout London team shares a deep love of video games and, most importantly, Fallout itself. Wouldn't it be good if the official Fallout team had that same devotion, if they were passionate about the Fallout IP? It doesn't seem like they are most of the time. It seems like Bethesda prefer for Fallout to be like an open world FPS, and the RPG elements, they see them as being pesky, getting in the way of the game that they really want to make. That doesn't seem to be the case with Fallout London. Each member of the team is individually recruited for their contributions and talent in the realms of game design and modding, and they are obviously talented. The trailer that we'll see in a second, the screenshots that you can find on their website, everything does look fantastic. You can't really believe that it's being done for free. They're not being paid for this. They can't really make money off it. And some people in the community have brought up, well, is this going to come to Creations, Bethesda's paid mod service? And while this particular team probably deserves to get some donations for their work, I don't think it will ever be on that Creations service. It's never going to be a mandatory payment to get access to this mod. And that's not because Bethesda are nice, it's because it would just be too hard, the logistics, the amount of people involved. Who knows if it's not just sort of one mod, if it also takes advantage of other existing mods and packages this all together. That could be the case. That would make it too hard for Bethesda to make it paid. So that is a good thing. I think with these passion projects, it should always be an option that, hey, you throw them some money, you throw them a donation, but that is not mandatory. So that the people behind it, it's not totally money driven. You know it's being made out of passion. That often means we get the best possible product. And if we have a look at this FAQ, this really made some of it all clear to me. So for instance, what is Fallout London about? Fallout London is an ambitious DLC-sized mod that is actually underselling it. As they say, for instance, if we open this one up here, what is the size of Fallout London? It is the size of the vanilla Fallout 4 Commonwealth and Far Harbor combined. So to simply call it a DLC-sized mod, that is being quite humble. This thing is absolutely huge. It's going to be like experiencing a brand new Fallout for the first time. And they mention here that it brings the player into the nuclear apocalypse all the way to the doorsteps of Parliament. The mod encapsulates the gritty, adventurous nature of the Fallout games. Very important here, with a new world, factions, storylines, NPCs, weapons, creatures, and much more. So it is not just London repurposed in a Fallout engine, it is genuinely all that we would expect from prior Fallout games. I want to reinforce that because some of the trailers I've seen from them maybe hasn't gone into as much depth as it could around things like the storylines, the factions, and so on. We obviously don't know how good they are going to be. It could be the case that we play it and everything's a bit underwhelming except for the world, except for London itself. I hope that's not the case, but given the amount of time and work they've put in, I don't think they're going to half-ass anything. I think it's all going to have a labor of love to it. There's some interesting info here as well. So for instance, how many series staples will be present in Fallout London? That is a complex question because FEV has not reached London in any way, shape, or form. So basically, what's gone on in America in regards to Fallout, it's not going to be here over the sea, across the sea in London, which means no super mutants, no centaurs, no Deathclaws, and likely a lower number of other enemies than ever before. Vault-Tec is an entirely American company, thus it will have no presence in London. You just know if Bethesda were making something like this, they would just pack all this stuff in here anyway, even if it didn't make any lore sense. They wouldn't care because they only care about their marketing. We will have a version of a vault, but it will be entirely different from that of Vault-Tec, except that it is a shelter beneath the ground. So don't expect better living underground. So it is going to be its own unique thing, it sounds like. What factions exist in Fallout London? And this is an interesting question because you're obviously going to have your Fallout New Vegas fans looking for more of that old school RPG experience from a mod like this. And then you might have some people who just prefer the exploration. They're less focused on the RPG mechanics. However, the factions themselves, they sound quite meaty. There is a lot of them. There's a lot of distinct regions of London within this game, and it looks like the dialogue system is going to be more complex than what we've seen in Fallout 4 as well. So that is a positive. Whether it reaches the heights of New Vegas in terms of the depth of an RPG, I don't know. Given that focus on London, I don't think it will be quite focused on that, but you can probably expect more of an RPG than Fallout 3 and 4, but maybe something a bit lesser than New Vegas. I'm fine with that. I love exploration, so if they get that right in London, that's cool, and then if there's some decent RPG stuff on top of that, that'll be the icing on the cake. I will mention it's going to be entirely PC focused, and that's not just the team's choice. It's just very hard to get these mods on console when they are total conversions, when it's essentially a brand new game. It's probably just not going to work, so it will be focused on PC. It's not going to have a voice protagonist, which is also nice. Again, they're trying to sort of pull back from the limitations that Fallout 4 had in terms of the RPG mechanics, and they base that decision on internal polls, discussions. It sounds like they asked the community. Everyone was pretty clear that the voice protagonist, that just doesn't work. And this here is the latest trailer. This is where they announced the release date a couple of days ago. It goes for 13 minutes and really goes into some detail, the London aesthetic, and some other things as well. We're going to focus on the gameplay mechanics. As you can see, the world of London, it looks fantastic. So much time, so much love is obviously been put into it. What we see here is the unique regions of London. So you've got places you might be familiar with, like Bromley, the City of London, Croydon, Greenwich, all those London English sounding names. But each of these regions has a certain amount of cells. What cells are in Bethesda games are essentially unique areas that are separated by loading screens. It's one of the problems people have with Starfield, because one cell, for instance, would be Fallout 4's open world, or Skyrim's open world, where you run around, there's no loading screen, unless you go to a location, such as you fast travel to a town, you enter a dungeon, you enter a cave, and so on. When you enter that cave, you're going into a new cell, and the loading screen separates it. But with Starfield, they didn't really have the open world. You were just teleporting across different cells. And that sort of broke the immersion for many people. However, in something like Fallout London, I think it's totally fine. I don't think it's outdated if you enter a brand new dungeon to have to go through a loading screen. I think that is perfectly normal. It's just that people want to have that open world as well, which this game certainly has. It likely has a sprawling open world, even bigger than Bethesda's last open world game. And if we look here, for instance, one of the regions, Bromley, has 261 cells. That could mean a few things. So in Bethesda games, sometimes you enter a dungeon, and let's say you enter and the dungeon is called the Office. You explore this office, and then you find kind of like a sub-area of the dungeon, which we could call the warehouse, and that has a loading screen to get in there. That would be another cell. And what I'm kind of saying is, each dungeon isn't always one cell. It might be separated by, say, 3 or 4 different cells, depending on how big it is. So 261 cells, that suggests to me there's going to be a lot of dungeons, a lot of different areas that you can go into, different buildings, different environments. That is huge though. There's probably 50 or so different buildings that you can go into in one region, and there's 15 of them. If we keep going through, City of London has 139 cells. You keep going, Newham has 109 cells. Most of these have 100 and plus, so it's sprawling. There is going to be so many dungeons, it sounds like, different places that we can explore. And they list the total number of cells as being 3,764. Now, as we've learned from companies like Ubisoft, size isn't everything. It's going to be about the quality. But given this is a passionate fan team, they don't have that same incentive to just pad the numbers and make the game 100 hours just for the sake of it, just for metrics, so they can keep people playing, so they can sell them single-player microtransactions, cash purchases in a single-player game. They're obviously not doing this, so I would believe that despite this huge size, love has been put into pretty much everything in the game. And if we just watch for a second, everything does look very nice, but it's also unique. It's not just sort of Fallout 4 repackaged.
337 detailed interior cells, 48 of which are the scale of the base game's Corvega factory, and a total of 7 unique settlements for you to build to your.
So it's got the building as well. I don't personally care about it that much, but many people do, and I imagine it's just one of many focuses of the game.
Combined, this lofty world space size makes Fallout London one of the largest mods for Fallout 4 to date.
So it's pretty cool, one of the largest mods that are out there. I know there's been some other total conversions, but this definitely looks like one of the better ones. We can see here as well, we've got the skills that we've come to expect too, and then you've certainly got perks. And it's been quite some time since I've actually played base game Fallout 4, but this is definitely a different perk system. It's not the absolutely dumbed down one we got in the 4th game. It looks like many of these will be unique. We haven't seen them in other Fallout games before, so again, totally new title. It's not just going to recycle everything from the older games. We can also see here the quests. So I'm in 53 main quests. That's pretty intense. That is a lot of them. I imagine, given you'll be making choices in this game, it might not just be a 53 quest long storyline. Maybe it depends on the path you go down. There might be some different unique quests, depending on maybe factions that you side with, things like that. But 35 side quests, that's pretty meaty. You've obviously got your faction quest lines in there as well, and each of those different regions we saw earlier, the 15 or so, I believe at least most of them have their own faction there, so there's probably a lot you can engage with in the different areas. They did talk about some of the quests not necessarily being super complex. Some of them might be those sort of go into a building, kill the raiders, and come back and see me for your reward. There might be a bit of that, but I'm all right with that if some of those quests are about getting you to explore new areas. They kind of push you into new environments. That is okay if you're getting rewarded by the exploration more than every single unique quest, but I hope some of these are quite interesting and that they do have nice storylines, given that Fallout 4 was pretty lacking in that department. We can see a bit of the dialogue system as well, and it's nice that it's not just that wheel from Fallout 4. We can actually see what our character is going to say, at least it seems like. And it's cool that it's actually designed for a PC interface rather than a controller like the last one. So I imagine just the whole game, it's going to be a little bit more complex than its previous counterpart. And hopefully that translates into the quality of the writing and who we're talking to. It's not going to be a meal tier writing. It's hopefully going to be a bit more than that. I still don't expect for the quests, the NPCs, all that stuff to be the game's biggest strength. I think it is going to be the exploration based on how much they've really pushed. You're exploring London, all of these London English-based locations. That really seems to be what they feel their strength is, but I don't think we're going to be disappointed by the quest lines and what else is going on, because work has clearly been put in. It hasn't been just an afterthought. There is also over 90,000 recorded dialogue lines, so they've got voice actors for this as well. There's so many people who've clearly put time into this. It's pretty amazing, and they've obviously got a Patreon as well, so people are supporting them, which is pretty cool. Again, you don't have to. You'll be able to play this completely for free when it comes out, which is amazing. I mean, I paid $100 for Starfield. I felt ripped off. I'd much prefer maybe to give these guys some money if what they provide is good. And I do just want to make clear that while I'm being enthusiastic about this, I don't just want to hype it up and expect it's going to be the greatest thing ever and then it turns out to be another Starfield. It may not be as good as some are expecting and as good as the trailers suggest, but I just think that because this is fans, it's being made by fans for the fans. They want to make something true to form, like perhaps the older Bethesda games that many of us loved. That certainly seems to be the motivation. It appears to be high quality, and I hope it is, because it would just tell everyone it is possible for fans to deliver this kind of experience, this big sprawling Fallout game without Bethesda's involvement. There was a big period where many people felt that only Bethesda could create a game like this, and while it's sad we won't be seeing a Fallout 5 in potentially 15, 20 years from when Fallout 4 came out, that the idea that only they can do it is bullshit. And we've seen with Starfield that they've obviously lost it. I don't think they're even capable of creating something like a Skyrim or a Fallout 3 ever again. That ship seems to have sailed. So hopefully this is great. Hopefully it also tells Microsoft that maybe they can just give their IPs, Bethesda's IPs, to other talented companies. Maybe they could hire this team if it really is that good. And looking forward from this, I believe there are other total conversion mods to a similar standard, like Fallout Miami. There's some other ones I've heard about. So we may be in for a period where we do get lots of different Fallout games. They're just made by fans. There's also some for Fallout 1 and 2 if you like that isometric kind of style, maybe more of a Baldur's Gate 3 kind of combat system and look. So hopefully it means good things. Hopefully Fallout can grow from here, and thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye.